Success doesn't begin with what you have, it begins with what you believe. History is filled with people who turn nothing into everything, not because of luck, but because they dared to think differently. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." But if that's true, why do so many people still fail to achieve their dreams? Maybe it's not a lack of talent, maybe it's a lack of belief. Today's story reveals that truth through one young man's extraordinary journey from the sidewalk to the spotlight, the street artist who painted his future. In a busy city filled with noise and movement, there lived a young man named Ethan. Every day he sat on a street corner with a few paintbrushes and worn-out tubes of color, sketching portraits for passers-by. He was talented, maybe even gifted, but few ever stopped to notice. Most people just rushed by, eyes glued to their phones, too busy to care. Sometimes a stranger tossed him a coin, but rarely did anyone ask his name or admire his art. Ethan often thought, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe this is all I'll ever be. One afternoon, as the sun dipped between tall buildings, a sleek black car pulled up beside him. A well-dressed man stepped out and stood silently, watching Ethan work. After a while, the man said, "Your art is beautiful. Why are you selling it on the street?" Ethan sighed. "Sir, I don't have a studio, I don't have connections, I don't even have a following online. This is the only place people can see my work." The man smiled slightly. "No, that's not the problem. The problem isn't where you sit. It's how you see yourself." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" The man said, "If you see yourself as just a poor street artist, the world will see you that way too. But if you start seeing yourself as an artist whose work deserves value, others will begin to believe it too." He handed Ethan his business card and said, "Come find me when you're ready to believe in yourself." Then he got back into his car and disappeared into traffic. For days, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about those words. It's how you see yourself. He looked down at his cracked brushes, his faded paints, and realized maybe he'd been painting with doubt all along. That night, he made a decision. He sold his old bicycle, packed his art supplies, and took a one-way bus to the big city, a place where dreams were built or broken. The city was massive, bright, and unforgiving. Ethan had no apartment, no studio, and barely enough money for food. But he remembered the businessman's words and refused to give up. He found an abandoned wall near a busy street and began to paint. Not portraits for coins this time, but a mural full of dreams. A child reaching for the stars, a bird breaking free from its cage, a sunrise over endless possibilities. People started to notice. They took photos, shared them online, and soon his mural went viral. 1 week later, the same businessman showed up again, this time smiling. He looked at the massive painting and said, "So, you finally decided to believe in yourself?" Ethan nodded. "You were right, sir. The world didn't have to change. I did." The businessman offered him a partnership to create murals across the city, and just like that, the struggling street artist became a respected creator whose art inspired millions. Years later, Ethan stood on stage at an international art conference. He looked at the audience, young dreamers, creators, and thinkers, and said, "Your life is a canvas. If you keep painting it with doubt, you'll only see shadows. But if you dare to believe in your light, even one brushstroke can change your entire future." The crowd applauded, not just for his success, but for the truth behind his journey. Greatness begins the moment you start believing in yourself. You don't need wealth, luck, or permission, only the courage to change how you think. Because when your thoughts grow stronger than your fears, success becomes inevitable.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again in the next one.